Chapter 2, Episode 1, Starting the Paid Service 1. I'm Dokcha. I usually introduce myself to people like this, then the following misunderstanding would occur. Oh, are you an only child? I am, but that isn't what I mean. Huh? Then? My name is Dokcha. Kim Dokcha. My father gave me that name so that I'd become a strong man even if I was on my own. However, thanks to this name that my father gave me, I was simply living as a single man, unremarkable in my loneliness. In short, my life was like this. Kim Dokcha, 28 years old, single. My hobby was reading web novels on the subway while going to and from work. At this rate, you'll get sucked into your smartphone. In a noisy subway, I raised my head reflexively. A pair of curious eyes were staring straight at me. They belonged to an employee from the Human Resources team, Yu Sanga. Ah, hello, I greeted her. Are you going home from work? Yes. What about Yu Sangashi? I was lucky. The manager went on a business trip today. Yu Sanga sat down as soon as the seat next to me became vacant. A subtle scent came from her shoulders, making me nervous. Do you normally take the subway? Yusanga made a dark expression. Come to think of it, this was the first time I'd met Yusanga on a subway train. Starting with personnel manager Kang to finance manager Han, there were rumors that Yusanga had men from the company driving her home every workday. Yet unexpected words came from Yusanga's mouth. Someone stole my bicycle. Bicycle? You commute by bike? Yes! It's because I felt like I've been getting less and less exercise since I've been working overtime a lot lately. And because there was also a bit of an annoying matter. Things like that were why. Aha, so that's how it was. Yusanga smiled brightly. Seeing her this close, I could kind of understand why men found her attractive, but ultimately it didn't matter to me. The genre of every person's life was already determined, and Yusanga was someone who lived in a different genre from mine. After the awkward conversation, we looked at our phones. I opened up the novel app I was reading on before while Yusanga... What was this? ¿Puede prestarme dinero? Huh? Spanish. I see. What does it mean? Please give me some money, Yusanga replied proudly. Studying on the subway while going home. She truly had a genre different from me. But where was she planning to use a phrase like that after learning it? You're working hard. By the way, what is Dokshashi looking at? In the moment it took me to think. Oh shoot. Yusanga's gaze landed on the LCD screen of my smartphone. Is it a novel? Yes, well, you could say I'm studying Korean. Wow, I also like novels. I haven't been able to read lately because I don't have time. It was surprising. Yusanga liked reading novels. Novels like Murakami, Haruki, Raymond Carver, Han Kang. Ah, of course. Yusanga asked, Dokjashi, what writers do you like? You won't know even if I say their names. I've read a lot of novels. Who are the authors? At this time, it was really hard to say that I read web novels as a hobby. I glanced at the title of the novel in the app. The World After the Fall. Author, Sing Shangshong. I couldn't say that I was reading The World After the Fall by Sing Shangshong. It's just a fantasy novel. It's, what was it again? Right, Lord of the Rings. It's kind of like that. Yusanga's eyes widened. Ah, Lord of the Rings! I've also seen the movies. Yes, the movies were good. Silence followed. Yusanga was still looking in my direction, and seemed to be waiting for me to say something. It was getting awkward, so I decided to change the topic. It's already been 1 year since we joined the company, hasn't it? It was around this time last year, I think. Time really flies. Yes, you're right! Back then, the two of us had no idea what was going on, didn't we? That's right. It seems like just yesterday, but the contract period is already over. I realized that I'd said something wrong when I saw Yusanga's expression. Yusanga trailed off. I had forgotten. Yusanga received credit for a foreign buyer last month and was already promoted to a full-time employee. Ah, that's right, that happened. My congratulations are late. Sorry about that. Maybe I should have worked hard to study a foreign language too. No, not at all, Doktashi. There's still the performance review and... I didn't want to admit it, but the sight of Yusanga speaking, it was pretty cool. Her face seemed to glow with a brilliant light, as though the world's spotlight was shining down on only one person. If this world were a novel, the protagonist would likely be someone like her. In fact, it was an inevitable outcome. While I hadn't worked hard, Yusanga had. While I read web novels on the internet, Yusanga studied diligently. So, it was inevitable that Yusanga would become a full-time employee and that my contract would be terminated. Dokjashi? Yes? If you don't mind, should I let you know the app I'm using? All of a sudden, Yusanga's voice sounded distant. It felt as though I was getting infinitely farther away from the world. Terrain in my mind which felt as though it would drift away. I forced my eyes open and focused my gaze straight ahead. A boy was sitting in the seat opposite mine on the train. He looked a little over 10 years old. The boy who held an insect collecting net in one hand was smiling brightly as he sat next to his mother. Dokjashi? What would it be like if I had a life different from the one I had now? In other words, what if the genre of my life had been different? If the genre of my life weren't realism but fantasy? Would I have been able to become the protagonist? Who knows? That was probably something I would never find out. However, if there was one I did know, it was this. It's fine, Yushangashi. Pardon? Even if you tell me the app, it won't be any use. The genre of my life was plainly realism. It's because Dokja has a Dokja's life, you see? What do you... It's just that some people are like that in life. And in this genre, I wasn't a protagonist, but a reader. A Dokja's life. Yusanga was wearing a grave expression, so I waved my hand a bit to show that I was really alright. I didn't really know why, but this person seemed sincerely worried about me. Well, she was from HR, so she was probably aware of my work performance already. Dokjashi really says truly great things. What? Then, I suppose I have my own life as well, a Sanga's life. Yusanga seemed to have decided something as she turned back to studying Spanish. I gazed at her for a while, before returning to the novel. Everything had returned to normal, but strangely, my scrolling of the novel didn't go well. Maybe it was because I realized the weight of reality that I couldn't scroll down. At that time, a notification appeared at the top of my smartphone. You have 1 new mail. It was from the author of Ways of Survival. I opened the mail. Reader Nim, my novel will become paid from 7 p.m. This will be helpful. Good luck. 1. Attachment. The author said he would give me a gift. What was the gift? Like my name, I was also a reader by nature, so I was excited to read the mail. Yes, it wasn't bad living as a reader. I checked the time. It was 6:55 p.m. I had exactly 5 minutes before the novel became monetized at 7 p.m. Then I opened up my list of preferred novels in the app. Since I was the only reader, I should leave a congratulatory comment and give strength to the author. However, the work does not exist. I tried typing ruined several times in the search box, but the result was the same. The bulletin board for Ways of Survival had disappeared without a trace. It was strange. Had there ever been a case of a novel being deleted without notification when it was going to be monetized? At that moment, the subway lights turned off, and the inside of the train became dark. The subway train shook loudly and let out a metallic sound. It caused Yusanga to scream and grab my arm. Then I heard the sound of other people getting stirred up. Yusanga grabbed my arm so tightly that I paid more attention to the pain in my left arm than the sudden stop. It took 12 seconds for the train to stop completely. Then I heard confused voices coming from everywhere. What? What is this? In the dark, 1 or 2 smartphone lights turned on. Yusanga still held my left arm tightly as she asked, "What's going on?" I pretended to be unconcerned. "Don't worry, it isn't a big deal." "Ah, is that so?" "Yes, it's probably a disturbance from a suicide. The engineer will soon make an announcement." As I finished speaking, I heard the engineer's announcement. "Telling all passengers on the train. Telling all passengers on the train." The loud surroundings became calm. I sighed and opened my mouth. "See? It isn't a big deal. Now an apology will air, and the power will come back on. Everyone, run away. Run!" What? There was a beeping sound. Beep. And the broadcast turned off. The inside of the train became a mess. "Dokjashi? What is this?" A bright light flashed from the front of the subway train. There was a loud drumming sound, followed by a pop. Something was headed this way in the darkness. It was just a coincidence that I saw the clock at this moment. 7 p.m. Tick. It felt like the world was stopping. Then I heard a voice. "The free service of planetary system 8612 has been terminated. The main scenario has started." This was the moment the genre of my life changed.